Welcome back to Engineering Out Loud, part of ISO-certified MECHESOL's MESP program. This is the 4th episode of our ISO standards training series.
Right.
And today, we're embarking on a journey through the audit lifecycle.
Oh, I like that.
And hey,
Yeah.
if you're finding this deep dive helpful, you'll find a treasure trove of resources just like it over at mechesolco.com/CPD.
Great.
But for now, buckle up,
Okay.
because we're about to map out our course.
I like that. A journey. And just like any good journey, it all starts with understanding the destination.
Okay.
So let's define our terms.
Yeah.
What exactly is an internal audit and why should we even care?
You know, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people hear internal audit and their minds immediately jump to like a stressful exam or something. But you're saying it's more than just a pass-fail situation.
It's so much more than that. Think of it as a health check for your company's quality management system, or QMS,
Right.
which, as you know, is the heart of ISO 9001 to 2015. It's a systematic, independent look under the hood to see if everything's running smoothly, if you're meeting your own quality goals, and where you might be able to fine-tune things.
So it's less about finding faults and more about finding opportunities for improvement.
Absolutely. The goal is to get a clear, objective picture of how well your QMS is working.
Okay.
And that means using evidence-based evaluations, just like a doctor would use diagnostic tools.
Makes sense.
It's about asking, are we meeting our own standards? Are there any gaps we need to address?
Right.
And most importantly, how can we do even better?
Okay, I'm starting to see the value here.
Right.
But before we get too far down the road,
Sure.
let's talk about the guiding principles behind these audits.
Okay.
What makes them effective? What are the rules of the road, so to speak?
Well, just like a judge in a courtroom needs to be impartial, so does an auditor.
Okay.
Think integrity, objectivity, confidentiality.
Right.
Everything needs to be transparent and based on solid evidence, not opinions or gut feelings.
So it's about removing any potential for bias and ensuring that the findings are truly accurate.
Exactly.
Got it.
And speaking of accuracy, that brings us to the key players involved in an audit.
Okay, so who are the main characters in this audit drama?
First, you have the lead auditor, who's like the director, overseeing everything.
Right.
They choose the audit team, making sure everyone has the right expertise.
Right.
Then there's the auditor, who's on the ground gathering the evidence.
Okay.
And of course, you have the auditee, the person or department being audited.
Okay.
Communication between all three is key.
Okay, so we've got our director, our detective, and the subject of the investigation.
Yeah.
This is getting good.
It is. And just like any good detective story, this one unfolds in stages.
Right.
Which brings us to the heart of our journey today, the audit life cycle itself.
All right, this is where I need you to break it down for me.
Okay.
What are the steps involved? Where do we even begin?
Well, every journey needs a good roadmap.
Right.
And in the audit world, that's the planning phase.
Okay.
Here's where we define the scope of the audit, figure out our objectives, and decide what criteria we'll be using to evaluate the QMS.
Makes sense.
It's all about laying the groundwork for a successful audit.
Okay.
And if you're looking for more resources on laying that groundwork,
Yeah.
head over to mechesolco.com/CPD.
So you're saying we need to know exactly where we're going and what we're looking for before we even start the audit.
Yes.
That makes sense. So once we've got our roadmap in place, what's next?
Then it's time to hit the road and actually conduct the audit.
Okay.
This is where the auditors roll up their sleeves and gather evidence. They'll be talking to people, observing processes, and reviewing documentation, all to paint a clear picture of what's really happening within the QMS.
Okay.
Think of them as detectives gathering clues.
I love that analogy.
Perfect.
So they're piecing together a puzzle, looking for any cracks in the system, any places where things could be tightened up.
Precisely. And speaking of tightening things up,
Okay.
once the evidence is gathered, it's time to analyze it
Right.
and compile a report. This report is like a treasure map,
Okay.
highlighting both the gems, the areas where the QMS is strong,
Right.
and the areas where there might be room for improvement.
Okay.
Maybe even a hidden X marking a nonconformity.
So the report isn't just a list of problems.
Right.
It's also a guide for making the QMS even better.
Exactly. A good audit report should be clear, concise, and actionable.
Okay.
It should clearly state what was found, what it means in relation to ISO 9001 2015 requirements
Right.
and what steps can be taken to address any issues.
Okay.
It's about turning insights into action.
Okay, so we've got our treasure map. Now what?
Right.
Do we just hand it over to the auditee and say, good luck?
Not quite. The next step is to review the findings with the relevant stakeholders.
Right.
This is a crucial step because it's not just about pointing fingers.
Right.
It's about having an open dialogue, understanding the root causes of any issues, and coming up with solutions together.
So it's a collaborative process.
Absolutely. The goal is to get everyone on the same page and working towards the same goal. A more robust and effective QMS.
Gotcha.
And to ensure we don't lose track of any of those shared goals or the discussions we have about them, we document everything meticulously.
Okay.
Having a clear record of the review process helps guarantee transparency and accountability.
Makes sense.
No.
So what happens once we've reviewed the findings and everyone's on board with the next steps?
Then we shift into the corrective action phase.
Okay.
This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Right.
It's time to take those insights from the audit report and translate them into concrete actions.
So it's about turning what's wrong into how do we fix it?
Exactly. We develop a corrective action plan that outlines specific steps to address each nonconformity identified in the audit.
Right.
It's like a blueprint for improvement.
And I'm guessing this plan needs to be pretty detailed.
It does.
Okay.
The plan should clearly state who's responsible for each action, what needs to be done, when it wants to be completed, and how we'll measure success.
Right.
It's basically a project plan for fixing the problems that were found during the audit.
Makes sense.
And just like with any project, strong leadership is crucial, and that's where the lead auditor really steps up to guide the implementation of the corrective action plan.
So the lead auditor is making sure everyone stays on track.
Right.
And the plan is actually put into action.
That's right.
Okay.
And they're also responsible for making sure the plan is effective. It's no good just checking off boxes.
Right.
We need to make sure those corrective actions are actually working and that they're making a real difference in the QMS.
So it's not enough to just fix the immediate problems.
Right.
We need to make sure those fixes stick and prevent similar problems from popping up in the future.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final but certainly not least important phase of our journey, ensuring progress.
Right.
This is where we circle back and check to see how things are going.
Right.
Are those corrective actions having the desired effect? Are we seeing improvements in the QMS?
Okay.
And importantly, are we maintaining those improvements over time?
So we're not just checking the box and moving on.
Right.
We're committed to continuous improvement.
Precisely. We schedule regular follow-up reviews to track progress, identify any new challenges, and make adjustments as fitted.
Makes sense.
Remember, ISO 9001:2015 is all about continuous improvement, and internal audits are a powerful tool for achieving that.
So it's not really a cycle, is it?
Right.
It's more like a spiral, constantly moving upwards towards better quality and efficiency.
I love that analogy. Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just about better quality and efficiency. There are other benefits, too.
Oh. Tell me more. What else can internal audits do for an organization?
Well, for one thing, they can help build a stronger quality culture within the organization.
Okay. What exactly does that mean?
It means creating an environment where everyone understands the importance of quality and is actively engaged in continuous improvement.
Right.
Internal audits help raise awareness of quality standards, empower employees to identify and address problems, and foster a sense of shared responsibility for the QMS.
So it's not just about following rules.
Right.
It's about building a mindset where everyone is constantly striving to do better.
Exactly. And when you have that kind of culture, it can actually save the organization time and money.
How so?
By identifying and eliminating inefficiencies, of course.
Okay.
Think about it. Every time a process is streamlined or a problem is prevented, it saves the organization resources.
Makes sense. And those savings can add up quickly.
Right.
Not to mention, when you have a strong quality culture, you're more likely to produce high-quality products and services, which can lead to increased customer satisfaction and a stronger bottom line.
It's really a win-win situation. And speaking of wins, listeners, if you want to learn even more about building a winning quality culture, be sure to check out the resources available at mechesolco.com/CPD.
Right.
There's a wealth of information waiting for you.
Absolutely.
Now, I know we've talked a lot about the benefits of internal audits.
Yeah.
But are there any potential downsides? Anything organizations should be aware of?
That's a great question. While internal audits are incredibly valuable,
Okay.
there are a few things to keep in mind to ensure they're truly effective.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some potential pitfalls to watch out for?
One of the biggest pitfalls is failing to properly plan the audit.
Okay.
It's crucial to have a clear scope,
Right.
well-defined objectives,
Mm-hmm.
and a solid understanding of the organization's specific context.
Makes sense.
Without that, the audit can lose focus and become less effective.
So it's really important to invest the time and effort up front to make sure the audit is set up for success. No skipping the roadmap stage.
Exactly. And it's not just about planning the audit itself. It's also about choosing the right people for the job.
Okay.
The audit team needs to have the necessary competence, experience, and critically impartiality to conduct a thorough and objective assessment.
Right.
If you've got someone on the team who's too close to the processes being audited, you risk introducing bias into the findings.
So subjectivity is key. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I know we talked about the importance of the corrective action plan, but are there any common mistakes organizations make when it comes to actually implementing those actions?
Oh, absolutely. One common pitfall is failing to allocate sufficient resources to the implementation process.
Okay.
You can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't have the people, time, or budget to carry it out, it's not going to be very effective.
So it's not just about creating a plan, it's about making sure it's actually executable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another mistake is failing to properly track progress and measure the effectiveness of those corrective actions.
Right.
You need to have systems in place to monitor whether those actions are actually making a difference. And if not, you need to be ready to adjust course.
Makes sense.
Remember, it's an iterative process.
So even after the audit report is filed and the corrective actions are in motion, the journey's not really over. It's about ongoing vigilance and a commitment to continuous improvement.
Precisely. And that brings us back to one of the most important elements of a successful internal audit program, leadership.
Okay.
It's crucial to have buy-in from top management.
Right.
They need to understand the value of internal audits, support the process, and champion a culture of quality throughout the organization.
So it's not just about ticking boxes and meeting compliance requirements.
Right.
It's about seeing internal audits as a strategic tool for driving real improvement.
Absolutely. And when done well, internal audits can be incredibly valuable. Not just for meeting ISO 9001-2015 requirements, but also for improving efficiency, reducing risks, and building a more resilient and successful organization.
Well, this has been an incredible journey. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the complexity and importance of the audit lifecycle.
I'm glad to hear it. And remember, this is just the beginning of your own audit journey.
Right.
If you're looking for more guidance and resources, don't forget to visit mechesolco.com/CPD.
Of course.
There's a wealth of information waiting to help you navigate the audit lifecycle and build a thriving quality culture within your organization.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the audit lifecycle.
You're welcome.
Until next time, keep those audits rolling and those quality improvements coming.